A group of friends, finding themselves at a resort in the high season without accommodation, respond to an advertisement for additional staff at a fashionable hotel. It is clear that the vacation for the company at this point ends, but so they can at least not pay for a roof over their heads before departure. But the hotel, where they settle down, turns out to be a cover for a criminal group, which is engaged in smuggling of rare species of animals. And at the moment they're breeding aggressive mutated eels with a giant killer eel at their head. It's hard to believe, but just 5 years ago Chinese director Vash Yan was listed as one of the most promising young directors. With only one film under his belt, the 2014 sci-fi thriller Bugs 3D, he got a job directing the Jackie Chan starring fantasy action comedy The Night of Shadows, whose potential can be judged at least by the fact that its premiere was scheduled for Chinese New Year, traditionally the hottest time of the year. The fairy tale didn't happen. The Shadow Knight flopped miserably at the box office and was one of the reasons why fantasy as a genre eventually moved from the big screens to online. Vash Yan, however, seemed to understand something and in 2022 released a tight sci-fi online thriller called The Hunting, reminiscent of something between Predator and Aliens, but set in snowy Chinese forests. He followed it up with a good action movie, Sniper Vengeance, and then suddenly went back to where he started and made Sharp Teeth, which looks like Yan made it a decade ago, at the same time as Bugs, and is only now releasing it online. To say that for Yan it's a step backward, is to say nothing. It's a movie that no matter how hard you try, you can't say anything good about. Secondary, very weak in terms of plot logic and internal dramaturgy, it looks cheap, doesn't really click as a thriller, and quickly gets boring, even despite its modest 70-minute running time. There's plenty of action, but the positive characters are so flat and one-dimensional that you don't care one bit about their fate. The only thing that Yan, perhaps, managed to do was to create vivid characters of two villains, the arrogant beauty Gao Xian and the chief gangster sidekick, who is in love with her, but what to do with them and how to develop them, the screenwriters never thought of. Apparently, the creators of the movie made a bet on Raquel Su in the title role. At one time, this actress was a real lifeline for online movies and, for example, in 2021 alone she starred in 17 films. But eventually her name began to be associated with lowbrow trash that use her face to cover its weaknesses. And in Sharp Teeth there is definitely something to cover up, including computer graphics, which is far inferior to what we saw, for example, in The Hunting by the same Vash Yan, and there is not enough of one Su to cover all these holes.